What is going on, guys? NeBo back again. Hopefully you guys are doing good, and in this video it's gonna be my top 5 tips for Moira and how you can become a better Moira player. Before we actually get into the top 5 tips, I want to go over Moira's abilities so you understand what I'm talking about in the tips, assuming that you've never played this hero before. So we could start this from the ground up. Moira has a primary and secondary fire using her bionic grasp. Her left hand expends bionic energy to heal allies in front of her. Her right hand fires a long-range beam weapon that saps enemies' health, healing Moira and replenishing her bionic energy. Biotic orb. Moira launches a rebounding biotic sphere. She can choose between a regenerating effect that heals the allies it passes through or a decay effect that deals damage to enemies. Fade. Moira quickly teleports a short distance. This ability is good for getting out of sticky situations or jumping into situations that call for the team to be healed. And finally, Moira's ultimate ability, Coalescence. Moira channels a long-range beam that both heals allies and bypasses barriers to damage her enemies. Tip number 1, know your counters. Moira's damage output is not fantastic, so anyone who has self-healing abilities like Bastion or Soldier 76 can heal through her damage. Other characters like Pharah are quite effective against her if they are joined by a Mercy, since that is almost nearly impossible for her to damage through. D.Va can also prove a problem for Moira since her defense matrix eats the bionic orbs. Moira is the strongest against flankers like Genji, Tracer, and Sombra. Her beam makes it easy to track and damage them, while her fade allows Moira to chase down these heroes trying to escape. Moira is also powerful against tanks like Reinhardt and Orisa, since both her bionic orbs and ultimate pierce barriers. Tip number 2, geometry is fun. One of the most important aspects of mastering Moira is understanding how to use the level geometry to your advantage, since her bionic orbs can bounce against walls. A smart player can utilize a level's geometry to output a ton of damage. Moira is incredibly potent in close spaces where the opponent's movement abilities are limited. Before engaging, make sure you always fire a damaging bionic orb towards your enemies. Remember, these can pierce barriers, so it's a great way to engage targets hiding behind Reinhardt's or Orisa's shields. When actually firing a bionic orb, try not to launch it in a straight line. Instead, try to bounce the bionic orb between walls to maximize your damage. An orb traveling in a straight line will always go faster than one ricocheting, so try to bounce this energy ball whenever possible. For healing orbs, firing them at the ground directly in front of you or your teammates will add an additional hang time to leech some of the life from the ability. The healing orb slows depending on how many players it's affecting, so try to use it only when there is more than one person who needs help. However, using the bionic orb to heal yourself when absolutely necessary. One little quick tip about this ability, holding left or right mouse button and then pressing E bypasses the HUD and automatically auto-cast the orbs. Tip number 3, managing your heals. Unlike other support characters, Moira actually has a resource meter that manages her healing output. This can be seen in the middle of the screen to the right side. It is important to manage this so you always have the ability to heal players. To fill this meter, you'll need to damage enemies with her bionic grasp or her bionic orbs. Only use your healing beam when you know absolutely that you'll hit that person. Try to always hit more than one person at a time to make most of this resource. When you are playing Moira, always be conservative with her healing. One quick tip about Moira's healing beam that not a lot of people know or a lot of people do is that when Moira's teammates are damaged a little bit, instead of actually holding down the beam to a full extent, using the beam in small bursts will heal our allies over time and will save the health meter from going all the way down and using your resource up. Tip number 4, when to use Fade. Fade is Moira's movement ability that lets her vanish and quickly dash into any horizontal direction. She will be invulnerable for the period of time, and there is no way to spot her until she reappears. The skill has rather short cooldown, so it's okay to get aggressive when you are attacking. However, do not use Fade to engage into a fight. Instead, use it to catch up to enemies so you can finish them off. Make sure you use Fade after characters like Tracer, Genji, and Sombra use their mobile abilities. This ensures they cannot escape and that you can secure the elimination for your team. Fade is a great way to disengage if a fight gets out of hand. In most team fights, you'll want to save that ability as a way to run in case your side appears to be losing. Try to make your movements unpredictable so it's harder for your foes to predict where your endpoint will be. Also, if possible, try to break line of sight when using Fade so it becomes harder to track you down. Fade is an awesome ability against ultimates. For example, if Tracer sticks Moira, Moira uses Fade to get away, denying the sticky bomb from killing Moira. So keeping your Fade as a back pocket resort to get away from ults is key. One quick tip with Fade, and this is Fade jumping. When you Fade and then jump onto an object, you can get to higher spots than you normally wouldn't be able to. So moving forward or W on your keyboard, hitting Fade and then jumping onto an object that's shoulder height or smaller can project Moira even further into the jump, getting into spots higher and unexpectedly jumping to heights that she couldn't normally get to before. Tip number 5, not a DPS ult. The common mistake that I see with Moira players is that they use Coalescence in a way to damage their enemies first. While the beam does penetrate all targets, the actual damage output is nothing spectacular. Instead, players should always focus on healing with this beam and then damage enemies with lower health pools. It's really hard to die when Moira is using Coalescence on them, so it's a perfect ultimate for pushing objectives. This ultimate also pierces barriers, so using the beam to force Reinhardt or Orisa away from choke points is a great way to initiate a fight. Coalescence is both a support ultimate and one to help initiate team fights. Try to stay behind the team when using it to maximize your healing and damage output. Moving the beam in a sweeping motion back and forth can also act as a nice way to zone enemies in a fight. Just focusing on killing enemies is a completely waste of Coalescence potential and power. Hopefully you guys learned a thing or two about Moira that you didn't know before. I will be linking down below CarQ's video on all the maps and all the spots for the Fade jumps, and there's still a lot more out there that people haven't found out or that people do know that haven't actually come to light. So check this video out. It'll actually help you how to do a Fade jump better. It's hard to actually understand when you try to do it yourself. But other than that, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Make sure you drop a like and slap that subscribe button. I'm NeBo. Till next time, guys. See ya.